So Tachyon Blue,
Author stuff
of
while we're
the Gamergate book
talking.
and the upcoming Gamergate book 2, Electric Boogaloo, has spoken to Connor, Counterpoints. Counterpoints 40k. Connor points. Mall Cop, Paul Blart, Robocop. About the Progressive Victory stuff. Okay. So we're gonna just watch this. We're gonna watch this. Okay. There's some interesting parts, I know. I've seen a couple of little clips of it. So hopefully it'll be okay. And we might 2x it. We'll see.
Talking stuff while we're talking.
All right, sounds good.
But if you don't mind, do you mind if I rip it from yours and then post it on mine?
Yeah, that's totally cool.
All right, excellent.
All right, well, welcome everyone. I'm joined today with Counterpoints. We're going to talk about the Progressive Victory stuff, various aspects of that. How are you doing today, Counterpoints?
I'm doing beautifully. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Your camera might go out a little bit here and there because I will be pulling up research materials and stuff, just some light stuff relating to the discussion. Sure. You're involved with Progressive Victory. Do you want to tell us about what kind of organization this is, what exactly they do?
Sure. I can speak to my role within the organization and the goals that it's been espoused to me and I've read in the website, but I don't want to speak as like the head of Progressive Victory, right? Like I'm not the head honcho, I'm like a peon, I'm like a foot soldier, right? But I'll tell you my perspective. So my perspective, Brianna Wu was working with them a few months back. I think I joined in October or so. She said that like, hey, we got this organization. We're trying to bridge the world between online politics and the real world. We think that, as a, somebody who is, a Burkean conservative and has some Republican leanings and all that kind of stuff, you would be a...
Dude, you can just imagine Brianna Wu fucking relating with this fucking language, can't you? Oh yeah, we think you're really interested. You'd make a great addition to the team as like a Burkean conservative. Like she's got into a conversation with Connor. She's been like, "Oh, tell me about your politics." He said, "I describe myself as a Burkean conservative," and then 3 weeks later, she's come back and she's like, "Hey, we think you'd be a great addition to our team as a Burkean conservative. I'm really interested in what your perspective on these issues." And he's like, "Oh, they care about my ideology. Oh my god, I have to join." You can just imagine it, can't you? Just the Wu glazing. It's fucking insufferable.
Valued voice in this organization. We would appreciate it if you came on and gave us some consultation in reference to, basically arguments and Republican and conservative perspectives, et cetera, so we can be more effective. And then also, if you like it and you want to hang out, and you want to help us with some other stuff, then do so. And I enjoyed it. I like the people who work there. They asked me to do several things for the canvassing event with DGG in Cincinnati. That was just this past week. And the general thing that I like working for is the general election. I do understand people have some concerns with progressives and leftists in local elections, but I can speak to that as well. But I don't want to rant your ear off, so I'll let you start cooking with that.
Okay. So are you paid by Progressive Victory?
Yes.
And you have been since October of last year?
Yes.
So what sort of services do they pay you for?
Well, the main thing that the main thing that I would say that we've done since...
Yeah, but it's counterpoints with the canvassing. Yeah. Well, the idea is that he's against Trump, right? He would rather have a progressive than Trump. Than Orange Man. So he would canvass for the Democrats. That's his cope, right?
Since October is weekly.
You're right, Trump hasn't won. But that's the cope.
A creator meeting. There's several, I would say like it's 80-90% Democrat or progressive or lefty streamers and YouTubers who come together, and then we just talk about what's hot that week. What are the main topics? What are the...
Yeah, how were they paid before the 1099s? That is a good question. Did you know the guy on the screen is a former intelligence agent? Where he's still doing I don't believe he's an intelligence agent. I do not believe Connor was ever an intelligence agent.
the main political developments? What are we going to cover that week? What do we think the best thing is going to be rhetorically? What's going to get normies? What's going to get lefties? What's going to get righties? What's going to get everybody? And that's kind
intelligence
of
is not a word
the main
that I would
thing
ever
that we've been doing since October, I would say.
describe counterpoints.
Got you. So do they ever give suggestions or recommendations or requirements? I know those are different things in regards to what kind of content should be made.
Yeah, there's no requirements.
Yeah, you might be thinking of Wicked Supreme. You're probably thinking of Wicked Supreme, Martialist. He was a spook.
And then as far as suggestions, I would say that if you have somebody who's bringing up like 3 or 4 hot topics that week, and we all kind of agree that they are the hot topics that are worth talking about that week, that could be inferred as a suggestion, but it's not anything arm twisty. I don't think YouTube has any kind of terms of service concerns when it comes to political stuff. But when it comes to Twitch, I think early on a concern was that they have a prohibition against explicit paid political advertising or something like that. And so as a result, they kind of had to, I would say that they literally can't twist our arms for legal purposes and for terms of service purposes.
Okay, so now you are involved in this organization in October. There's other people involved as well.
This guy was intel in the Marines. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
Is everybody involved who joins the organization or who is going to these events, like the canvassing event in Cincinnati with a DGG, are all of these people receiving payment, or only some of them, or is it just you and Wick? Or
yeah, it's some of them. I don't think Destiny's getting paid, for instance, because he's already a multimillionaire. I think he's doing it out of the kindness of his heart. Vosh, actually, I think if I remember correct, he did fundraising for Progressive Victory last year or the year before. So I don't think he's getting paid. I think that anytime that he tries to motivate his audience to canvas, he's doing that out of the kindness of his heart. Again, I don't think
the
they're paying him
Martialist
for that.
super chatted $1.99. Nope. This guy was intel in the Marines.
I think someone said he's intelligent for a Marine, not intelligence for the Marines.
I would leave it up to the individual creators on whether or not they want to out themselves. But I would say as far as the creator meetings, it's maybe 10, maybe 12 people who like show up to the meeting on a weekly basis. And then there were other creators who showed up to the PV canvassing event in Ohio that were not a part of the creator group. They literally just wanted to come hang out with their streamer and YouTuber friends.
And the streamer group that does the weekly meetings, are those specific individuals, though, they are all receiving payments?
Yes, that's my presumption, but I would leave it up to them to disclose if they're being paid and how much.
Okay, well, I do want to clarify that, though, because I know some of the people who talked to, I think, Kid Not Kin, did he go to a meeting? Or he was invited to go, but some people have talked about how they went to the meetings, but they weren't necessarily being paid by them directly, or they say that.
Yeah, I think Kid is, to my knowledge, not a part of like the weekly meetings or whatever. Maybe he went to 1 or 2 even before I was there. But to my knowledge, he hasn't been there regularly. I've been going weekly since October, and I don't think I've seen him unless he's very, very, very quiet.
And I know that you say that you personally view this as you're not going to out these other people who are part of this group. I understand that, but do you think that the people who are taking regular payments from Progressive Victory, do you think that they should be disclosing this to their audiences?
Yep. I think that it's caused more heartache than it's worth even considering. I think that people should be relatively proud of what they.
Okay, Connor, listen, he's taken a stance here. We can respect that, right? He's intelligent for a Marine.
Do, and if they're already liberal or Democrat, if they already planned on voting for Joe Biden or Democrats down ballot, or if they already have progressive issues that they're passionate about. I don't know. And then you're getting to work with actual political professionals. I don't know why you would hide that. But I'm also not a lefty. So if I have a political opinion that people don't like, I kind of tell them to sit on it and spin. Whereas a lot of other lefties are very sensitive to the sensitivities of their audience.
Though, so there hasn't been a great deal of disclosure of the progressive victory stuff with some of the people, the streamers and YouTubers. Wick was a notable example. I'm not sure you, from my understanding, have expressly said prior to relatively recently that you are regularly on the payroll of Progressive Victory, which is fine. I think it's fine if you support these organizations or if they support you, as long as everything's transparent about that. So I think that
Yeah, I
FTC
think there was.
regulations are probably the best way to do it, where it should be it says in the FTC regulations, if it's live streamed content, it should be mentioned on a regular basis throughout the stream. That way that the audience is aware.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that transparency, especially if you don't think you're doing anything wrong, if you think you're doing something good, if you're trying to have a positive impact in the world, I think that everybody should be transparent. I think that Progressive Victory can't compel people one way or the other, to my knowledge. And then basically, I think that a lot of people, or not a lot of people, it's just been mentioned at least with two people that I can think in mind, they didn't even think about it. I'm not trying to out anybody here, but for instance, like Dylan Burns is a part of the creator meeting, but he's been working with political organizations his entire Twitch and YouTube career. He's been working with local, state, I think local and state Democratic political organizations his entire
But he's always talked
career,
about that.
and
He's
so
always that's always
it's
been known.
never been a secret for him.
Like, everyone knows about all the shit that him and RGR were doing with that one. What is it, LGBT rights organization, and like this has all been very open. Well, that's all been very open.
So he just didn't think that it was going to be a big deal to disclose it because it's just one of like the three that he works with. And then again, I don't want to out anybody, but there
Like
was
if he'd been doing all that in the background, people would be, and then it came out. I think people would be well within their rights to be upset about it. No, they were audience members of his, and they assumed that he was sort of, they didn't have any reason to think that his viewpoint may be skewed by some perverse incentive. If they didn't think that beforehand, and then suddenly it comes out, oh, you work for a bunch of organizations where your pay is essentially dependent on you believing these things. Oh, well, now I don't feel like you're engaging quite as honestly as I thought you were. Like that would be totally reasonable. No, I just don't. This was like a non-point, unless he's just saying it to be like, oh, so the disclosure, it was just a mishap. Unless that's all his point is. I don't know.
They're like large YouTube creator who was like, well, I already do Democrat content. That's what I'm popular and known for. How is me working with and for the Democrats any different than what I've already been doing? Now, the conversation was basically like, well, we think it's good for you to just disclose in order to avoid the perception.
But yeah, obviously, there's going to be, based on what your content is, there's going to be varying levels of upset from the audience, right? Like, I don't get the feeling that IRI's audience would ever be particularly upset to learn that IRI is being paid by the Democrats, given that IRI's setup for his stream is literally like Biden and Obama and Hillary Clinton and shit all pasted all over his background. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh, IRI is taking money from the Democrat. Oh my God, I'm so outraged to learn this. I don't think anyone's going to be like that. That doesn't mean he shouldn't disclose it. But I just don't think his audience are going to be particularly perturbed by it. But for someone like Wick, who tries to present more of an impartial, free speech, we're willing to go to the ideas that other people won't speak about and talk about the serious issues in a neutral way, like that sort of presentation, then yeah, the audience might be a little bit more bothered by it, especially given that Wick's audience actually extends far past his fan base. Because Wick has an incredibly small fan base, but at his peaks has quite a large audience. Because if he gets a big guest on, then he has their viewers watching, even though he doesn't actually retain those for his future content. Incredibly small fan base, yeah. We should be clear. Incredibly small fan base. Not in mass, not in in numbers. Obviously, if you know anything about Wick's fanbase, some of the members of Wick's fanbase, you will know that in mass, Wick's fanbase is actually disproportionately large. Wick is too poor to have a base for his fan. I would do it for free. He does it for free. He does do it for free. Like he shows up and he just full throatedly spouts whatever the Democratic Party is saying that day. It's pretty epic. Let's be real.
Of malevolence, but at the same time, like he just didn't think about it.
Unironic, just full throated chill.
Well, so the Dylan Burns example, though, I don't know the specifics of if he was getting paid by these organizations or not, but you and Wick, and to be clear, Wick has started disclosing too. You both seem to have recognized. I think in the beginning, both of you were very hostile to people who were criticizing you for this, but it seems like
they were very mean. They were very mean to me. Also, Tachyon mic fucking sucks, bro.
And you've taken a more measured approach with it.
They were very mean to me.
Though I haven't seen all of Wick's content, I can't say he's always necessarily done the disclosure stuff. I know that he's tried to take it more seriously and has started saying it on streams sometimes, at least.
Yeah, my hostility stems from it doesn't stem from the disclosure part of it. So for instance, if somebody walked up to me and they were like, "Hey, I always thought of you as more right wing than being willing to work with Democrats. I kind of would have appreciated it if you had disclosed that you were working with PV earlier." I would have been like, "Okay, then okay, and I'll start disclosing it more." My frustration was on behalf of Wick, because Wick is, to my knowledge, he's always been Democratic. He's always been a liberal. He's always been progressive. And so for people to act like, oh, he's going to be corrupt into what? Like wanting universal health care a little bit more. That's
so
where I felt like
the
people
point.
were making a
This is so beyond the point.
And also, I feel like there's a tendency amongst leftoids. I don't think Republicans have, or right wingers have this problem anywhere near as much. I think there's a tendency amongst leftoids to just ideologically murder each other over who is the most pure, while not caring about what actually happens in the real world. And that was part of the reason why I was pissed off on Wick's behalf.
Right about it. Also, you missed the point. Also, you're
right. Well,
also you're more
it is I think a pretty serious issue though, because again, it's not the world's biggest controversy, especially if all the players involved to start taking things seriously. It looks like you said that you are, and Wick seems to have, so that's good. I hope others, if they have any conflicts of interest, start to do the same as well. But it is, I think, a major issue because you are receiving payment from a political organization, and you're attending weekly meetings.
Is he cleaning a gun?
The kinds of things that you're going to be covering, essentially. And you're receiving.
Are you
I
good?
don't know the exact amount. Do you want to talk about the exact amount, or? I know it's
not really. It's not. Yeah. So it's gonna be different based off of creator and value added and all that kind of stuff. And I don't even think they've really told us how much each person has made. And so I don't want to. One, I don't really want to put my business out there like that. Two, I don't want to pressure anybody else and be like, why the fuck is he getting that much, or why the fuck is he getting that little? But the way that I would put it is, it's a nice chunk of change, but it's not enough that I can quit my day job. So I'm not, this isn't. It's a couple extra bills a month that I'm able to pay as a result of what I'm doing. It's nice, but it's not. I'm not quitting my day job anytime soon.
Now, I've heard in the conversations with Wick that it's between $500 and $7,000 depending on the person. But is that a weekly basis or monthly?
That would be based off of scale, based off of what I'm getting. That would be monthly, and then 7,000 sounds very high to me.
That's probably what Destiny's
maybe there's just somebody who's just that worth it, where they're just killing it and they do admin stuff and they have crazy creator metrics, and they've been able to sign up a bunch of people for IRL canvassing or something like that. But to me, 7,000 sounds very high.
And I think the reason this is different too from again, I don't know enough about the Dylan Burr situation, but if he's just a volunteer or just working in like a volunteer capacity for a group, I think that's quite different though than if you're receiving like a regular paycheck from them. Because like even if it's let's say for everybody involved it was, let's say for the sake of argument, $500 a month. That $500 a month could influence the kinds of things that you would do or the kinds of opinions that you might have. Even Wick, right? For all we know, Wick was thinking that maybe the conservatives made a good point on this, or the libertarians, or the progressives, or liberals, or whatever the fuck. And he started to change his mind on something, but he wouldn't do it, or he wouldn't express certain viewpoints, or wouldn't cover certain stories. I'm not saying that this has happened. I don't think that it has. I mean, he interviewed me, you interviewed me, and I'm perceived as not liking Brianna Wu, for some reason.
Well, it's probably because
And
you're a
you
massive
still
Gamergator,
ultimately-
right? I mean, it's probably a reason. But here's the thing: is that Brianna Wu did a lot of retarded fucked shit in Gamergate, and so if you talk about a lot of the fucked shit someone does, you're gonna come off as disliking them, right? I mean, unless that was just tongue in cheek. Oh man, fuck Brianna Wu. You shouldn't be concerned about coming off as though you dislike Brianna Wu. Disliking Brianna Wu is the correct position to take. Sorry. Just true.
On your shows, and I told Wick he should disclose that when he did, when he did, and he has since recognized, I think, that the disclosure was probably necessary. On a regular,
Yeah, and I mean,
basis of stream.
I think, yeah, I
Hopefully
think
he
that's
recognizes
the.
And everyone
No,
recognizes that.
I think we've talked about it a little bit since then, and I think that there is, you know, for me in particular, like the value, the reason why I'm doing it, is I think actually pretty not self-explanatory, but it's something that I'm not ashamed of in any capacity. It's something that I like a lot. And if anything, after the canvassing event, I'm more aggressive and enthusiastic about it. So for me, you know, I think that not disclosing it actively and aggressively and not really thinking about it or whatever, it gave it more of a negative perception than was necessary. Whereas if maybe we had been a little bit more thoughtful, then one, we could have avoided the drama, which would have been fantastic. And then two, we also could have eliminated this specter of lack of transparency. So for me, it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, like we should have thought about it more. We should have done it earlier. Maybe we should have been a little bit less pissed off, but for me, the reason I still stand by the reasons why I was frustrated, because they largely don't affect.
Really, Connor, you don't think that it was a good idea to go on J-Stock's stream and start screaming at Kelly, calling her a bitch and a cunt over it for lightly pressing you? You don't think that was a good choice, no? When you're representing progressive victory, you didn't think that was the right play there, Connor? No? All right.
To me, they affect other people.
All right.
They largely affect lefties.
You said on another stream that you got involved with Progressive Victory because you wanted to stop Trump, that you wanted to defeat him in the upcoming election.
Stop Trump.
Yeah,
now.
I think that's very true.
That you think he is a threat to the liberal democratic order, essentially?
I think he's done things that like necessarily bar him from office from a perspective of competence. So yeah, and also I'm not a some people like Lauren De Laguna was there. She's not a part of Progressive Victory, but she's like a conservative and she's very passionate and pro Trump and all that kind of stuff. But she was there, and I really enjoyed our conversations. Lauren De Laguna kind of brought up like, hey, you're assigning malice to Trump where there were people who were a part of the thing that you're talking about who were basically telling him the opposite of what you're saying. And so as a result, can't you give him some grace, I guess?
He enjoyed their conversations. Yeah. He really enjoyed their conversations. He means she has massive tits. That's what he means. That's what he means, because there ain't no way you listen to anything Lauren De Laguna said and came away thinking, wow, yeah, that was a great conversation. That was amazing. That was great. That was amazing. That was really interesting.
In reference to, you know, what you're complaining about. And for me, it's still I don't know whether or not Trump lied. I don't think it necessarily matters. I think if he, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
My
yes.
monitors, yeah, my monitors went out real
Yeah,
quick.
you're coming through.
Okay, so for me, it's either an issue of malevolence or incompetence, and either one of them should bar him from office.
Yeah, well, I think it's perfect. I hope more conservatives actually decide to vote against Trump, either in the primary or in the general.
Fuck
But
Donald
I just want
Trump.
to ask too, if Nikki Haley wins the Republican nomination, and let's say hypothetically that Progressive Victory throws their support behind Joe Biden, and you're
Yeah, then
receiving
I'm
these
voting for
monthly...
Nikki Haley. Yeah, if there's a normie Republican, which like she has some neocon takes that I don't like. She has some interventionist takes that I don't like. She has a few things that I don't like actually. But at the same time, if it's a normie Republican or it's Joe Biden, and especially if it's somebody under the age of 60 who is capable of not having their brain melt on stage, then yeah, I'm voting for a normie Republican, of course.
So you would turn down the money from Progressive Victory if they went the other way and nominated Biden over Haley, endorsed them?
They're going to go with Biden. Progressive Victory's going with Biden, but
I am struggling with this
going
one.
with Biden does not preclude me
Connor,
from working.
let's get
with
through
them.
it.
And they haven't really made my individual
Nobody
vote
gives a fuck.
a
Ain't
issue of
nobody
concern.
care.
It's more about can you know, and like I'm just reading the tea leaves, so to speak. But it's from my perspective, it's more about whether or not I can offer services to them that are worth it to them from a financial standpoint. So, for instance, the way that I spent my weekend, I didn't even canvass. I was running around town, basically being a chauffeur. So, you know, if I can be a chauffeur during a busy time, if I can help lift things and get them where they need to be, if I can offer insight and value during the meetings, those are the things that matter more than the way that I individually vote. You might have to ask them, you know, like Sam, like the head, if he cares about the way that I individually vote, but I don't think that's the value that I add to the organization.
If Haley gets the nomination, though, or it looks like she probably will prior to the convention, would you leave the organization Progressive Victory then, or would you continue to stay with them and work with them but still vote for her?
You know, that's actually a really interesting question. The chances of that, just out of curiosity, what do you think the chances of that are? Because as far as I'm concerned, I kind of presume, even though Trump has some pretty serious legal issues, I'm presuming that he's the nominee.
Unfortunately, I think that's most likely. I do hope that she wins the nomination, and actually, I might even vote for her over Biden. I think she'd probably make a better president, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But
okay. So I'm with you. It's interesting. It's interesting. So this is something that Rob Knorr and Fabian Liberty took issue with. It. Like, why are you working against Republicans when you're claiming to be a conservative, et cetera, et cetera? And it's like, for me, the general is important enough that I would work against Trump. It just is. I haven't liked Trump since 2015.
Chud literally dropping every slur. Has he just gone fucking insane on Kick or Keep? Has he just cycled through them all? Dare please tell me you dropped a hard R. Please tell me you dropped a hard R. If he didn't, he's so gay. If he said every slur and just went with a soft A, he is so bitch made that it's actually unfathomable.
His presidency was pretty funny. Like I'm not gonna lie, there were parts of his presidency that I was like, oh, is he
not a
playing
hard
4D
R?
chess?
What
Is he
a fucking
idiot?
bitch.
But then just some of the things since then, I think preclude him from office. So my thing is having Trump get beat.
I bet he didn't say the K slur either. But he didn't say the K slur either, did he?
More important to me than most other things, and it's not just Orange Man bad.
Safe, edgy.
I think some
that's what
pretty serious
Chud
things that have to do
is.
with national security and geopolitics and all that kind of stuff.
He said the K slur. That guy's insane. Nah, that
would
guy's insane.
I still be able to
he's
work
insane.
against their interest, even if my contribution was very small? I don't know the answer to that question. Can you ask me if it happens?
What do you mean by if it happens? Like, as if other people do this?
Like if Haley gets nominated, or somebody like Haley.
I don't stand by that. I've got to say, I disavow that. I like having a bank account personally. Me personally, I like my bank account, my bank account, and my PayPal. I like those. Me personally, I like being able to process transactions. Big fan of that. Me personally.
Heart attack tomorrow, and then he can't run anymore, and then Nikki Haley is now the nominee, or Ron DeSantis is the nominee for whatever reason. If you ask me that question, then I'll have a definitive answer for you. Because it's like, is me doing small stuff in order to help the Democrats worth it, or is it like, oh shit, we actually have a shot at winning? Let's start working in a different direction, basically.
Do you think that? Well, I guess you already do because you're working at the disclosure, but like I think that would probably be like one very big obvious incident if this chain of events occurred, and so a normal Republican, not Trump, but someone like Haley, or I mean, she's the only one left running. But if it was them instead of Trump, and you were being paid by this organization and working for them, and you had been since October of last year, it puts you in a situation very clearly where, or it's perceived by people at least, right, that you might be making decisions based on that $500 a month or whatever.
No, I agree completely. I agree. So from my perspective, geometry to origin to geometry. So from my perspective, right
What was
now,
it? What the
55%
fuck was
of the
that?
Republican Party does not work.
Was he
I
just
agree.
muttering about?
So from my perspective, geometry to origin to geometry. So
The fuck is he on about? What's he muttering to himself? What's this freak going on about? Is schizo?
So from my perspective, right now, 55% of the Republican Party does not work in my interest, and I basically mean the MAGA crowd.
Origin
I don't
to
think that the policies are
geometry,
sensible. I don't think their rhetoric
geometry.
is sensible. I don't think their leader is sensible. I think that they've
He's
effectively
doing
fallen
CAD.
into a cult of personality that I viciously disagree with. That has nothing to do with the principles of
making
republicanism or
guns.
conservatism.
I
So
see.
if the 45% was back in the driver's seat of the Republican Party, where we actually cared about our principles and
Jesus.
philosophy and founding philosophy and all that kind of stuff, then at that point would I
Dude,
have
my back
almost like a
fucking
moral duty or
hurts
a
so
moral
bad.
obligation
I need to
quit?
get like some kind of like pillow or some shit just so I can like sit here, be close enough to my mic, and have my back supported. It's fucking horrible being hunched over like this all the time. Sorry, that was just a complete interruption because I'm just suffering.
In order to stop helping my part, my actual party's agenda and issues.
Can I help
think
your
the answer is
back for
probably
10 minutes
yes.
a day? What?
I think it's just yes. I think it has to be yes. So
So you've been working with him since October.
Oh,
During this
right.
time, there were several, and there's still one, I guess, Republicans who were running against
Boots
Trump.
yoga
If you're going to be volunteering
proselytizing. Is
for
that
an
what's going on here? Am I being
why
groomed?
work with this organization in preparation for the general election if you think that there might be a legitimate chance for you to bring democracy back to the Republican Party and by working with
because
them?
I don't,
How
reading the tea leaves, I don't think it was there. KOE Nation, Rob Norr, all that kind of stuff. They've kind of been telling me since they've been telling me since like 2 years ago that I'm holding on to a pipe dream, and I kind of agreed with them. I don't think a lot of people act off of principle. I think they do act off of self-interest. And so for me, I do think that it was always going to be this way. Unless there was something, a physical issue precluding Trump from running, it was going to be him.
All right, so food shops, we both know her.
Let's go. Food shops.
She's a political live streamer. Started out last year, but was involved in conversations in the community sometime prior to that, before live streaming herself, and the the politics community, basically. And she experienced very rapid growth, was very successful for a very short period of time, for a while, I guess, and she was building and growing her brand and doing a lot of content.
Not
she put out
really
a lot
true.
of content and
Not
talked to a
really
lot of
true
people.
at all.
And then she was involved in a controversy involving Lolli, where she says that she
My favorite topic,
has consumed this, but it's not her main thing. She says it's just one of the things that she likes pornography wise.
Not in
So
the
this
top
POC,
three, definitely in the
controversy
top
that happened.
5.
People took different sides. I didn't like. I think that what she did. I think that people were really overreacting. I don't really care if somebody looks at these cartoon images. I don't really give a shit. I don't think that it's harming people. I know that you and Chud Logic had a massive debate about this, which I want to talk about it, because in this conversation with Chud Logic,
I'm a little bit more passionate about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I you say defended her. I don't think that she does. I don't think that people should stop interacting. with
Rory
one another and kick her out of
bad.
society,
Rory
which is what
bad.
some people were trying to do.
Yeah. No, I know overall.
Anyone else think Rory bad? Anyone else anti-Rory?
You
Rory
Chud Logic
bad.
because Chud
Rory
Logic,
bad.
in your view, didn't criticize and condemn. I think basically it's a condemn that he didn't condemn food shops enough.
For me, it's not necessarily food shops the person. Like whether or not food shops. No offense to her, but I think she peaked out at a few dozen people most of the time. If there's 20 or 30 people who are Lolli consumers within the Twitch poll community, that's not going to be like a huge deal. It's for me the concept. I felt like Chud was being like really tepid about whether or not the consumption of Lolli was a bad thing or not. And for me, I think that it's a bad thing. As a matter of fact, there's a contrarian part of me that wants to steelman Vosh in this most recent drama, but Chud Logic has basically been articulating my perspective on Lolli the entire time that he's been covering the drama.
And Vosh is involved with Progressive Victory as well, and is in trouble for basically the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's a fucking contrarian attitude, Connor. It's a business attitude. It's a business attitude is why you want to pipe up and defend Vosh, Connor.
Yeah, relatively speaking, yeah.
But you say Vosh isn't paid by them. He helps fundraise for them, but he's not under payroll as far as you know.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as I know, he did a fundraiser for Progressive Victory either a year or 2 years ago. And then, he has, I don't want to say tepidly, I don't want to poo-poo on anybody's efforts, but he has encouraged his audience to canvass. And so I think, that should be applauded. Dang it, man, I'm really struggling over here. Can you still hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, my monitor's back, thank God. Okay.
Extreme Dad says, Boots, my hands are numb and I wake up in pain. Any thoughts? I would say I'm going to offer you some advice here for Boots. I'm going to say lay off the fentanyl. It's probably my first probably the first stop for you, Extreme Dad. So lay off the fentanyl, see how you feel after that.
So sorry about that. So I'm not poo-pooing on any of those efforts. I think that he just benefits from his size and relevance and all that kind of stuff. So I think it is a little bit different. Just because of size and relevance, but I think he's going to pay a social price for what happened. I don't know what PV's plans are. I'm not the head of the organization. I'm not even close to high up. So I don't even dream or dare to speak on their behalf.
So listen to this bitch-made attitude here. He's not like the point is that there's a contradiction there in the way that there's been this hard stance taken about people who consume or advocate for lolicon within Progressive Victory, but now this is being swept. That's what's being pointed out, Connor. That's what you should be addressing right now. But no, you're just going, well, I don't know what PV will do about it. No, dude, he's asking you to acknowledge or to argue with the idea that there is a contradiction in the treatment there.
But I think Vosh will pay a social consequence for this incident.
So food shops in Vosh, at least so far, are being treated very differently within. Well, are they in your view even right? That you view because food shops is a smaller career.
The Chud win. Oh, nice.
Than Vosh.
See, it's funny you kind of say that. I don't know if that's true because I just don't know how it's going to shake out. You know, I don't know how it's going to shake out. I don't know if PV's going to if PV's going to work with Vosh. I don't know if they're going to have a problem with what happened. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what the consequences are for what's happened with Vosh. I think the drama is still shaking out, and I think in PV's defense, I think they've just been recovering from the event in Cincinnati. So I think they're probably still unpacking equipment and organizing volunteers and doing tallies of everything that happened that weekend. So they probably don't even have time or energy to really thoughtfully contemplate the next steps when it comes to Vosh's contributions.
It seemed like in the conversation with Chud Logic, though, to me, that you don't want people to work with food shops, or you did qualify that in the stream. You did say you don't want them to work with them unless they are actively telling her that the lolly takes that she has are really bad.
Okay, he's pressing, text pressing. Let's go.
Very strict with her about that if they do work with her.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the exact same way with Vosh. I feel if he's going to proceed, and again, I don't know what his contributions are. I'm not a part of the upper echelons of the organization that will make decisions about who's doing what, when, where, why. It would be my very strong recommendation to anybody making those considerations that he needs to publicly come out and say, hey, listen, I fucked up. I shouldn't have done that. It was a bad move on my part. I don't, generally speaking, support this behavior, and I think that basically, you shouldn't jerk off to animated child porn.
But wait, this is so retarded, but he obviously is still going to be jerking off to Lolly. You think Vosh is stopping jerking off to Lolly because of all this? There is literally no fucking way. If he didn't stop after the first Lolly controversy, and he didn't stop after the second Lolly controversy, he didn't stop after the third Lolly controversy, then he ain't going to stop after the 50th, okay? He ain't stopping after the 50th. So what do you mean? He's just got to make a public stand on it? He's got to say Rory bad? Is that all you care about? Is just him saying Rory bad? You think he's a pedophile, no? You think, by definition, because he jerks off to Rory, that he's a pedophile, don't you? Isn't that your stance? But you're okay with pedophiles being in your organization as long as they're publicly anti-pedophile. Is that the opinion here? I'm just a bit lost. It's just not quite making sense to me. Progressive pedophiles? So you just mean progressives? Okay, stop it.
I think that's an easy ask, relatively speaking.
So not just with the organization, not just with Progressive Victory. You wouldn't want Progressive Victory to say something like that because it would be a bad look for the group, or just because it's bad in society in general?
Yeah, it's more society in general. I think it's a level of professionalism and professional decorum. I don't think you should. Yeah, I don't think you should fuck with that.
Well, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't like allowing myself. I'm not a fan of it, but I do disagree with you probably pretty strongly that it should be illegal. Especially since where are you going to draw the lines on this? There's a lot of art that it looks like lolly, quote unquote. Have you seen the anime Gate?
I have not.
Okay, it's actually like a military anime where the JSDF, a portal opens where.
Oh, did they go back to Rome?
Oh, it's coded as Rome. They don't call it Rome, but yeah, they go back to Rome.
Pretty much Rome, yeah.
And there's dragons and magic in the world, so it's like magic versus guns and tanks. One of the characters in there is almost basically Rory,
Ugh.
she's
Rory?
Lally, you could say.
Rory?
She's actually like 4,000. Like I'm unironically like 4,000-year-old.
Oh no!
Dragon or something. Not a dragon. She's not a dragon, but she's something else. Like really old, but like looks like
Some
a
magical
looks like a
character.
teenager. And it's like, well, so
Okay.
if we make like Lally illegal, like is this sexualized like teenage-looking character
Uh-huh.
who's not her official age is like really old? Is this artwork now illegal? Is this now something that an artist cannot
Well,
create?
is she an explicit hardcore sexual scenes?
No.
Yeah,
There's like
you
some
know,
like she's like flirting and stuff and like some sexualized innuendo and
we watch teenagers flirt in normal media. So
Wait,
fan service-
okay,
that's
so
not really the problem.
wait, so he only cares about hardcore lolly? What is this? Oh, what is this new standard? This is the first time I've heard someone talk about start saying this shit. You're okay with like the ecchi stuff, just not the hentai stuff? Is that what we're going with here? This is the first time I've heard someone take this position. I would love to know what the delineation is here. What is the differentiating factor here? I've got to know. I'll run it back.
If we make like Lally illegal, like is this sexualized like teenage-looking character
Uh-huh.
who's not her official age is like really old? Is this artwork now illegal? Is this now something that an artist cannot
Well,
create?
is she an explicit hardcore sexual scenes?
No.
Yeah,
There's some like she's like flirting and stuff and like some sexualized innuendo and
we watch teenagers flirt in normal media. So,
But the fan service
that's not really the problem.
Well, Brianna
Uh-huh.
Wu does have a problem with that, right? Because she wants these games to be taken off the Nintendo store. Well,
Which games? Just out of curiosity.
She didn't say any specific ones, but in her conversation with you,
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard someone say some shit like this. Like, I understand for the legal argument, like he is saying, like about the legality. So I understand that you may want to draw the legal line if you're the type of person who is super pro criminalizing lolly. I understand why you might draw the legal line at explicit hardcore stuff, because otherwise it becomes very murky and you have to start outlawing a bunch of stuff that probably you wouldn't be okay with outlawing. So I get that, but it feels like he's saying this basically morally as well, is that, well, even in Western media we watch this kind of stuff. So it's like he's saying it's not any different. But there is absolutely like there is absolutely a difference between some of the lolly stuff that goes on, some of the ecchi lolly stuff, and the sort of like Disney Channel teen flirting shit. There is absolutely a difference between those. There's absolutely a difference between those. It's like worlds apart. And even then, wouldn't someone who's sort of against the sexualized lolly stuff also, would it not be, it wouldn't be, oh, well, I'm okay with this stuff in Western media, so I'm okay with it in lolly. It would be like, you would be against both, no? You would be against like the Dan Schneider, Nickelodeon sexualization of teen tween girls on TV. And you would also be against the sexualization of lolly characters in anime. No, you would take the stance on both of them if you're against the lolly one, right? As opposed to making it an exception. I don't know, man. It just seems like a very strange line to draw.
she does say that she doesn't want these games on it, which isn't your opinion necessarily, but I assume
Yeah, I was
she would
gonna
mean
say,
like Kagra. I assume she would mean something like that, or Valkyrie Drive Bakuni, I would assume, but she didn't specify.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure those specific ones are on the Nintendo store, but she didn't name any
No,
specifics.
that's interesting. Yeah. So again, like I'm not just to make my perspective a little bit more clear. And
What do you mean that's retarded? Do you mean Connor's point's retarded? My point's retarded? Because I think my point makes sense. That if you're against it in lolly, you would also be against it in the Western stuff and not be okay with it in both.
also, like I think there's a difference between let's say like teenage media, like American Pie, right? American Pie is pretty gross. It has some gross out sex aspects or whatever, but we are watching teenage boys try to have sex with teenage girls and all that kind of stuff. They're all like 17, 18, whatever, right?
That's
to
not,
me
yeah,
is
that's different to lolly.
than, you know, where you're coming of age. Like I'm not trying to be, you know, too specific, but let's just say that I had my awakening when I was 12 or 13, and then I started being, you know, active dating girls while not doing anything hardcore around 15, and then I started, you know, having some crazy fun at like 16 and 17. So for me, that is a massive difference between that and let's say that you're consuming drawn art of prepubescent children. I think there is a moral difference and a condemnation difference. Maybe neither one of them are good, but it's more the prepubescent thing that I think we have to draw like a pretty firm line and say, no, this is fucked up and shouldn't be consumed by anybody ever.
So, in your view, is it fucked up for food shops or Vosh or anyone else to look at this stuff, even if they don't hurt anybody in real life, even if they don't even have, let's say, real life urges to do anything like that to any real life person or real life child, and it's just like purely like, hey, I really like for food shop specifically, she says that she likes like the power dynamic of the younger looking character and the older looking character, like a teacher and a student. Like,
yeah, that doesn't make
again,
it sound better, dude.
That's perfectly fine. But like, that's
let's not use that excuse.
I don't know
yeah,
so, specifically, but like, it's not the secondary sexual characteristics they say, or at least food shops. I don't know about
they say. Yeah, and so for me, this would be the price of normalization, so to speak. So we're talking about like, oh well, if a bear shits in the woods and nobody is around to see it or hear it, did it really happen or whatever? That's basically what we're saying right now. But we're talking about cartoon drawn child porn. For me, it's the fact that like we're normalizing it. We're saying that this is normal, this is okay. If you want to jerk off to prepubescent children drawings, then you know there's no harm. Whereas I don't think that's true at all. I think that there is harm. I think the harm is to yourself. You're encouraging a part of yourself that should not exist. And so for me, I would say if you feel those temptations or whatever, we all have.
This is all just very spiritual thinking, very magical thinking. You're encouraging a part of yourself that shouldn't exist. What does that mean, dude? Like literally, like source citation needed. So my nose is like mad itchy right now. Source citation needed. It's fucking crazy. Like he just says this shit, and you're just supposed to go along with it. And this is what all the arguments based on as well. It's always just sort of like, well, it just makes sense, doesn't it? It's like, well, yeah, to an extent. Like, it's worrying that people are into that stuff, but, like, what's with the massive moral condemnation without any actual harm being caused? Like, it's drugs hurt you. Coffee hurts you. You know, many types of porn are probably not good to be consuming, but we don't make all of them illegal unless there's, like, a victim involved.
I'm, you know, homicidal on the roadway, but I don't indulge in homicidal fantasies in my off time. Just for shits and giggles, and I don't indulge in, you know, murder for shits and giggles. Typically, even when we're talking about video games or Warhammer or whatever, there's a justification, there's a purpose behind, you know, the violence that I'm committing. So it would, for me, it would be the same thing as if somebody was like, they were playing like a serial killer simulator, like day in and day out. That it would be the same thing to me.
Well, I know Vosh is involved with a bit of hypocrisy with it, because in the past he had said it was like really bad, and then now he's changed his like view because he uses it himself.
I don't think he's changed his view. I think he just got caught.
Or, well, I mean, maybe. I had a situation super close. I can't.
True.
On it.
Okay. Based.
But I know that with food shops, like she's of the opinion that there needs to be rigorous research into this area, into whether or not. Well, she thinks a few different things, right? I don't want to put words in her mouth. Obviously, I'm not her. But from what I've seen, and she doesn't make these arguments anymore because she thinks that people are going to
social consequence for it.
Yeah, so she doesn't talk about this stuff anymore. But
you should.
She's of the view that we need to research whether or not lolly could be a way to help people who have POCD or who have even an attraction, like a
not offending
pedophile. Yeah, that we need to research whether or not that could be an effective way to help those people or people with POCD too, and that this is like a very valid area of research. And I think that probably is like a valid area of research. If it is actually effective at reducing it, then I think that we should be open to looking at that. If that's what high quality data consistently shows, is, you know, peer reviewed and replicated.
Yeah, and the differentiation that I would make is that there's a differentiation to make where it's like there's no harm to a physical human being in the production of lolicon except for the artist indulging in a fucked up part of their brain. So that is 90 to 95% a reduction in harm compared to a child being abused. I think some people would even put it at like 99 or 98. So if we can get people who have this proclivity to instead consume a kind of drawn pornography in order to satiate that urge while not indulging in the worst parts of themselves, and we can reduce total societal harm, then we should.
What's with these debate streamers, these DGG type queers, and putting these arbitrary numbers on stuff all the time? Doesn't Vosh do this as well? He like makes comments like, "Oh well, if let's imagine this has 3 utility points and this has 6 utility points." I swear I've heard like that sound clip. This stuff's gotta stop. This is why are we putting a harm reduction scale on kids being raped as a rhetorical flair? What's going on there, Connor? What are we doing?
production strategy. That's one argument. Another argument is that nobody's getting hurt, so what's the big deal? Let's consume it if you want to consume it. That's the other argument. And I'm saying no to the second argument. If you are a otherwise normal person, you have otherwise normal urges, you have otherwise normal heterosexual or homosexual or bisexual or whatever fucking sexual attractions that you have, and generally speaking, you're not attracted to prepubescent children, or you're not attracted to pubescent, like flowering pubescent children, then you should not indulge in that part of your brain. Even if it's titillating or curious to you, you should not reinforce that part of yourself.
What do you? So these people, because these people haven't actually harmed someone. You're saying that they're harming themselves, right? But they haven't harmed another person. So like, what should happen to these people who say, you know what, I'm going to look at this, either because, like in Food Shop's case, she says that it was to treat her POCD and that she thinks that could possibly be effective towards helping that people with that ailment. That's what she says, and she said she's talked to a psychologist. I don't know. That's what she says though. And Fosh, I don't know why he's doing it necessarily, but like, if they think that they have a valid reason to look into it potentially, and maybe they do, right? There could, I'm sure you could imagine that there could be reasons that you would look at something like this, other than that you are a EDF file,
right?
Right. I mean, it could be. I mean, because it is artwork, right? It could contain artistic.
Wait. Why is Tach? This is such a poor decision. I've got to be honest. Why is Tachyon allowed this to just become a lolly debate with Connor? What are we doing here? Okay, let's just.
Than that even.
Well, so I guess my question is, sorry, I'm like editing things. Why are we reinforcing that part of ourselves?
Well, you'd have to ask those specific people. But for Food Shop, she thinks that it helps her with her issue. And maybe she's wrong about that, right? Maybe that's not what...
What's this? Let's say jerking off to lolly takes off 3 units from your pedophilia meter, but does 4 units of damage to your soul.
I was about to say, I wouldn't go just off of the consumer who has some predilections towards it or whatever. I would go, I would talk to a psychotherapist or whatever. And then also on top of that, if she has POCD, where she's not a minor attracted person, but she is obsessed with the fact that she might be, I wouldn't want her to be doing that, because I would view that as her harming herself, because she's indulging in a part of her brain that doesn't need to be indulged, because she's explicitly not that way.
Or I mean, she could also have the POCD. I don't know enough about her psychological situation, but like, I don't know that it's necessarily harming her, because like, there's not really data on this, because like, no one studied it. It seems I've tried finding stuff on this. There's nothing on.
Yeah, I disagree with this. The reason why I disagree with this is because I think that I'm
it's
not
just
an
obvious.
religious person.
It's just
However,
obvious. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So okay, so it is literally just magical thinking, spirit maths. Okay, cool. Well, at least Connor admits that ultimately he has no real reason to believe the things he believes. It's all just spirit maths. Okay, cool.
For the fact that what you do to yourself, what you do in this life, how you conduct yourself morally, does impact the way that you see yourself, the way that other people see you, and that out of all the things that we should be concerned with as human beings, for trying
4
to
points of damage to your
soul,
soul,
that kind of bullshit, indulging in our most weird and fucked up urges is probably on the last part of my priority. Like legitimately, like figuring out whether or not I can jerk off to the weirdest porn imaginable and still not be psychologically fucked up by it is legitimately like the last line of inquiry I would ever possibly give a fuck about.
I mean, a lot of people are into a lot of like really hardcore stuff, and they just live like normal lives, and they don't ever hurt people in real life, or at least non-consensually, right?
Does that ever cross your mind, Connor, that some people are just interested in this stuff and want to know what the actual truth is? Does that ever cross your mind? Has it ever crossed your mind that maybe some people are just a little bit more curious than you and don't just shut off lines of thinking or lines of inquiry because they just go, oh, well, that's kind of gross, so I'm not going to think about that anymore? Isn't that crazy, Connor? Isn't it crazy that there's people out there that are like that aren't exactly like you in every fucking way? Isn't that insane? So how about you just shut the fuck up about it if you don't want to think about it? This is my issue. Is like that you get these people that talk about like a lolly and all this shit, and they're like, oh, it's so difficult to have these conversations, such a disgusting thing to even think about. Don't fucking think about it then, and stop fucking talking about it. No one gives a shit. Let people who actually want to have conversations about it, who aren't total pussies, have the fucking conversation then, and just shut the fuck up and fuck off. Because no one's interested in what someone who's just disgusted by the very idea that anyone would even entertain the conversation thinks about it. Just fuck off. It really is that easy.
They do stuff like this all the time. They watch stuff like this. They engage in kinky play with partners, and
yeah,
they're not like in real life. Like just because they're choking somebody in the bedroom, right? That doesn't mean that they're gonna go out and choke their coworker or their secretary or something, right?
Yeah, I totally understand this, but I think you already know the difference.
It's the fact that the lolly is drawn to represent a child.
Yeah, that's it.
But that's the difference? But if they're doing that, if you have somebody who they masturbate to this, and then they don't hurt anybody, I don't really care.
I do. I think I still think they're hurting themselves.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I think that's a fine view for you to hold. I think that when you try to pressure other people though to condemn her even harder, because like Chud Logic already said he didn't really want to talk to her too much anymore, and
He never spoke to her in the
that
first
wasn't enough for you.
place.
You wanted him to go like even harder at her, as if like she needed to be like removed from this little political world, the streamer political world.
Yeah, I would say so. My concern is not whether or not Food Shops continues to contribute to the political space. My concern is more whether or not this idea gets normalized, right? So if everybody was coming out of the woodwork and they're like, "Bosh did nothing wrong. It was actually based. It was actually super funny that he was jerking off to kids," I would be like, "All right, fuck this space." Like legitimately, like I would probably just straight up leave.
You know what?
And the reason being is because I don't want to contribute to the normalization of
you know what?
child porn. That's what we're talking about. Like, which by the way, like I'm not trying to be like a moral frog about it or whatever, but that is what we're talking about. We're talking about people simulating. And by the way, I've already made like as many distinctions as I possibly can. I think that there is a difference between a teenager being interested in a teenager sexually. I even think that there's probably a difference between like a 19 or a 20-year-old being interested in a 17-year-old cartoon character or something like that. And then I think there's a wild difference between that and simulating sex with prepubescent children by using drawings to do so. Or budding pubescent children like a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, somebody who hasn't developed sexually. It's like simulated child sex abuse. And there's no, to my knowledge, like there's no, we talk about like video games, right? Like human beings to a certain degree, they treat violence differently. Like we play video games that are violent all the time. But to my knowledge, there's no popular normalized video game that's about raping people, right? Like there's no popular video game series or movie series
yeah,
that's about
but okay, but that's kind of like, this is a complaint I have as well. I feel like Chud said this too. I feel like this is like a thing that people bring up is they never have, like, you have evil characters, but they never do anything like super fucked up, do they? Like, why don't you ever see any evil characters rape people? It's very rare to see an evil character rape someone, you know? It's very rare that an evil character is like a child molester. It's like there'll be cannibals, serial killers, whatever the fuck. But they won't rape a kid. Yeah, because it's just a downer to get reminded that's the thing. But what do you mean it's just a downer? Do you mean it's a downer? Is it not a downer to be reminded that death exists? It makes no sense. The line makes no sense. It's just a cultural standard around sexual crimes that they're considered worse than normal crimes. Let's be real. That's what it's about. No, that's retarded, Emp Dave. The reason is because it's so bad that you can't have any character that those things are relatable in any way who does those things. If you can't, this is like, okay, I've got to figure out how to phrase this. I almost went for the full send, Mr. Girl. It's like with the Holocaust. You shouldn't pretend that bad actions are so evil that you cannot possibly envision you or anyone you know ever doing them. That's fucking retarded. And it makes me, when someone says something like, oh, well, there's just no way I could ever possibly relate to someone who would ever, I could literally never see a character that had that, and I would just be so disgusted, and so I just could not imagine how there's no presentation of that where I could ever imagine any way that would be in any way relatable. It's like, come on, dude. Everyone is capable of awful things, and you should recognize that about yourself and the people around you. Obviously. If you're not like a total retard. But I understand this is the internet, and most people I'm talking to are probably going to be completely retarded. It's all for optics, not how they actually think. You trying to tell us something? So I don't think that's a controversial take, or it shouldn't be anyway. It shouldn't be. It should not be controversial to say that there is no inherent differentiating characteristic that makes someone evil. And you should not see any action or any, you know, failure of character as totally beyond yourself. Because that's how you that's how you fuck yourself, right? That's how you end up as a shitty person. Anyway, I don't think that's controversial personally.
People is a good thing or it's a value neutral thing.
Well, I
And
mean,
so
like, I don't
having sex with children should also be one of those things that is never value neutral.
But those, it's legal to make a movie about a rapist, though. And like, arguably, like, isn't one of the James Bond movies that they get criticized for that, like in the 1960s?
Yeah, so when it comes to, let's just say, sexual mores around consent, when it comes to the 1960s heterosexual culture, I wouldn't be looking to them for like healthy perspectives on sex. That's absolutely true.
Okay.
The Manhunt Wiki. Is this? Scully 3 is adorned his face with an April-esque skull design and a pentagram tattoo on his arm. He wears a wife beater and purple with yellow stripe like track pants. Skull 4. A high-strung individual, depending on the atmosphere. One moment he'll be shouting by a joke, "Hey, Scully 4, I raped your woman last week and she begged me for more." Another, he will simply yell, "Jesus." Okay, what a great Manhunt side character. The one that rapes. I think most people views predation is far worse than murder. Yeah, that's retarded. I hate that. I hate the rape is worse than murder, the being nonced is worse than murder stuff. No, but being murdered is the worst thing possible because it means your fucking life's over, dude. That's it. It's done. Nothing gets worse than that. And if you think otherwise, it's probably because you're some sad, depressed loser who doesn't want to live. Is torture worse than murder? I mean, it depends. That comes down to a time calculation, really, doesn't it? 5 years. If you get tortured for 5 years straight, and then you only live like 3 months after that, then yeah, that murder probably would have been better than that. But if you get tortured for 5 years and then you live for 20 more years and you get over it, or, you know, deal with it roughly, then, well, I mean, you know, it was kind of like worth, well, not worth it, but you know what I mean? Like, it's worth staying alive. It's worth staying alive. You should endure. Exactly. No, but how am I wrong? How am I wrong? How am I wrong? Murder is the worst one because that's the end of your life. Surely you would want at least the opportunity to have the chance at being through a half decent life, right? If something fucked up happens and you're still alive afterwards, at least you can. There's a chance stuff will sort itself out, or not sort itself out. You know what I mean, retards. Anyway, I'm wasting time. I'm just rambling. I'm just rambling about nothing. I've seen people with PTSD. Not great. You know what's worse than that? Yeah, you know what looks worse is a fucking skeleton, a corpse. All victims who commit suicide begs disagree. Yeah, but suicide is an irrational action. Suicide is irrational.
But that being said, I think that's because over time we've increased our understanding and sympathy for people who were abused by a lack of understanding around consent and the ability to consent. And I wouldn't want to reverse that in any capacity.
All right. Well, sorry to get so stuck up on the food shops thing, but she has said.
No, I'm okay with it. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not sure if you saw her video. She was very careful in the claims that she made. She didn't want to make. She just speculated that possibly, because you were condemning her, Brianna Wu was condemning her, and Wick. Well, he said there's still. That's an ongoing story. They plan on talking soon, I hear.
Yeah.
But Wick, she got banned from his server, all in this very short period of time. Wick says that it was actually an admin on his server, not himself, who did the ban. But
yeah, there was no concerted conversations between me and Brianna Wu or Wick or anything like that, or at least none that I was a part of. And then what I would say is, even as I was thinking as recently as a couple of weeks ago, I think I mentioned it, and even with the Vosh thing now, I borderline think that the space could benefit from a conversation where we say, Deb, Short Fat Otaku is a popular, nice, funny guy who I enjoy some of his content and I enjoy being mutuals with him on Twitter. He's a funny guy, but he has a similar opinion where he's like, it's lolly, it's drawings, who gives a fuck? That's his entire argument, and I viciously disagree with it.
So, what should happen with Short Fat Otaku after this?
Well, I mean,
in your opinion,
well, in my opinion, I would say what I would like to do. Ideally, obviously, we don't have a lot of time, but ideally, I would want to get him and Food Chops and myself and Brianna Wu into a conversation, and I would probably want to have a conversation about why do we see so differently on this opinion? Like why is there such a huge fucking gap between us? And I don't just want to claim like, oh, it's because I touch grass. Like, that's not really a productive conversation. Because if there are people who feel the way that Food Chops feel, and there are people who feel the way that Deb feels, I, at minimum, would want the opportunity to try to change their mind. And at maximum, I would want to let people like that know, like, hey, there are people in society who are going to judge you pretty harshly for this behavior.
I think they fucking know, dude. I think they know. I think everyone's aware. Oh, man, this is fucking insufferable. What is this guy's problem? Yeah, see... Yeah, I think they're like a pedophile, but I think the approach for pedophiles is just to debate them out of being pedophiles. I just kill me. Oh man, wasn't there like a harder stance on this before? Am I crazy, or was it not like a way harder stance like a month or two ago? Was it not like fuck lolicons? These guys are pedophiles. Get rid of them. Was that not Connor's perspective like a month or two ago? Like, am I crazy?
It's not casual. It's not something that everybody's just going to sign off on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can set that conversation. Well, I'd be willing to moderate it if you wanted somebody to. I'm on good terms with pretty much everybody, except for maybe Brianna.
Yeah, I mean, in general,
I'd moderate the discussion on the lolly stuff.
Well, yeah, and there's also a part of me that says, like, we're talking about a few dozen nerds on the internet debating lolly. Should we be focusing our time and energy on something else? I don't have a firm answer for that. Like, we talk about stupid shit all the time.
Yeah, this is not a normal debate topic for me or anything.
yeah. But the overall point being, like, I'm trying to think about this. It's like, do I want to focus on this and really try to nail down my perspectives and why I feel the way that I feel and spend some time and some energy on content related to this, or do I think we're best served by more focusing on like contemporary electoral stuff that's going on, the Trump stuff, all that kind of jazz? And I don't have a firm answer for you. If anything, I feel like I feel like Vosh has reinvigorated the conversation because, like you said, there are people who have been previously condemned for technically not as egregious behavior. So, why does Vosh get a pass from some people when he doesn't get a pass from others?
I don't think Food Shop should have been condemned either. Well, I don't know about Vosh's case. I don't know what he specifically did. So.
Yeah. And obviously, I'm coming from a more moralistic, puritanical, religious upbringing. What you choose to put into your brain and what you choose to spend your time on affects you, and that is something that's worth moral weight.
But we are also. I'm not saying that you're being hypocritical, but Progressive Victory works with Stardust. She's not paid by them, she says, but she does volunteering.
To my knowledge, she's not.
Okay. She says she's not. You say that she's not. But she does do canvassing with them, which I think that the canvassing stuff is good. I'm not going to criticize that. I think that's actually great that people are doing something like this. That they're trying to merge real life politics with online politics, I should say. But she's defended Food Shops. Destiny, who is the group person who arguably inspired.
I saw his fucking dude. I saw his clip. I wanted to fucking smack my brain into a fucking desk. I was so bad.
He didn't defend Food Shops. We defended because he didn't know about that controversy. I don't think. But he
relatively speaking defended Vosh. He was like, who gives a shit about fucking drawn pornographic cartoon drawings?
Destiny was spitting. Destiny was spitting. Damn.
I know. I wanted to slam my head into a fucking desk. No, it's fine.
Bro, it feels. This is the other thing. It feels like there's a bunch of like Destiny dick riders. But I agree with Destiny more than they do. It's like they just forget about all the controversial Destiny opinions. They take every safe Destiny opinion and they drop every controversial one. Like a Nick DiOrio being like super hardcore on the anti-lolly shit. And it's like, dude, you're like riding Destiny's cock, I swear. Like, Nick Diorio's like a Destiny fan, isn't he? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he must be. Yeah, he is. He is. But then he's like, he just forgets about the fact that Destiny is like, on the incest is morally neutral. Drawn CP is fine. Ethical CP, all that shit, all that beat. It's like he just forgets that. It's like that's an extension of the core principles that are being followed, right? Like Destiny's big brag is, oh, I have I ground my axioms. I work from the moral foundations and work outwards. So that's how my positions are also epic and logically consistent. Like that's the whole thing, right? So if you're buying into like the core view of the world that he's espousing, you sort of have to buy into a lot of those things. Yeah, I remember that Destiny debated Nick and Bo Blacks and all that lot a while ago.
It's fine. Listen, maybe I'm really not trying to be like a, you know, ooh, I'm so much better than everybody else. Maybe I touch too much grass. Maybe I don't touch enough. I don't fucking know. But it's just that is not an opinion that I can sign off on at all. I think what you consume affects your brain. And I think that has more weight, and I don't think it's worth it. And I think that people should be a little bit more cognizant of what they put into their brain and what they sign off on.
All right, now you're working with Progressive Victory. They don't work. Oh, sorry, we should qualify real quick. Make sure that we know. Progressive Victory and Rebellion PAC are two separate entities. Brianna Wu is a bridge between the two organizations, but they're two separate groups. Rebellion PAC is a super PAC. Progressive Victory is the canvassing group.
I don't know the difference between a PAC and I don't know the difference between a PAC and a super PAC.
So is Progressive Victory a PAC?
If it's a political action committee or a political action group or whatever, then yeah.
I couldn't find anything online about them being a PAC specifically. Under like
well, and you would have to check them for their fucking tax filing and all that kind of shit. I think they're a nonprofit. So what is the difference between a PAC and a super PAC? Super PACs, officially known as independent expenditure-only political action committees, are unlike traditional PACs in that they may raise unlimited amounts of funds from individuals, corporations, unions, and other groups to spend on, for example, ads overtly advocating for or against political candidates. Yeah, so I don't know how Rebellion or how Progressive Victory are categorized between PAC and super PAC, but they're obviously Democrat affiliated, more progressive than.
Well, probably not like expressly Democrat affiliated because they're.
Yeah, maybe they have to have like some like nonpartisan. I don't fucking know. So, but when you say Progressive Victory, and their like website says that they want to get progressives into office, I'm assuming it's going to push more left than it is right. You know, that's just a presumption on my part. So yeah.
All right. So Brianna Wu, were you aware of her prior to, or how did she approach you, or how did this all work with you getting involved in November of 2023?
Yeah, so she was kind of in the debate space for a bit, you know. So she was always there. We'd had other debates. We'd been, you know, I don't think the hippie dippy was still a thing, but we'd had debates in the past, and so she basically just approached me and said, "Hey, we kind of want/need a conservative perspective. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Fuck yeah."
Okay, and so you weren't aware of her really prior to the debate space, though?
So I was passingly aware of the Gamergate shit, and then I was passingly aware that she had her own studio for a while. I was passingly aware that there was some controversy about, you know, her relationship with her family and whether or not it was as bad as she said it was, and all that kind of stuff. I was aware of all that kind of stuff passingly, but I hadn't like specifically meticulously researched her as a character.
Okay.
So.
And,
I haven't even heard that claim. I can't even think of that one. I thought there's way bigger arguments against Brianna Wu than possibly misrepresenting quite how connected to her family she was. Like, they obviously gave her, I believe, you know, there's that thing about the big loan. They gave her like $1 million or whatever the fuck. Whatever it was. Smaller than $1 million to start her fucking failed animation studio. What was it? How much was it again? How much did Brianna Wu get? It was like 300 grand, I think, right? To start Socially Unconscious Productions or whatever. 200k. Yeah, but I don't know if it's ever been argued that she was actually closer with her family past the point that she said she was estranged. I don't know. I truly don't know. But I do know that there's much more substantive claims in that, and I don't know why that's the scandal that you'd bring up in regards to Brianna Wu.
And you thought, well, I don't put words in your mouth. You want to just tell people what you thought of that, and this didn't dissuade you from working with her or give you second thought?
Yeah, I would just say that it didn't. You know, she's a driven character. If her reporting on people harassing her was inaccurate or political minded, or she had political brain or whatever the fuck, you know, unfortunately, if I if I try to deal in objective truth as much as possible. Like I try to just say literally what I believe when it comes into my brain. If other people think more rhetorically, if they've been trained by political organizations to think more rhetorically, I'm not going to give them shit for that. And if they also think that way, I call it lawyer brain because I find it most with people who have Juris Doctorates. But some people, they actually just, they think about what they're going to say before they say it, and they try to think about the desired result, not the words that they want to fall out of their mouth. That's too much work for me. But if she was lawyer brained and framed things,
it's not just about framing. It's about mistruths, lies, falsehoods, Connor. It's about lying for an agenda, being a big liar, not just being rhetorically effective, being a rhetorician. That's not what it's about, Connor.
Not totally honest light in order to cause damage to her political opponents and maximize her personal benefit. If I didn't work with people like that, then I wouldn't work with anybody.
But if it's dishonest, isn't that bad?
It's a question of whether or not you view it as dishonest. So, for instance,
I hate this guy. I really hate
this
guy.
One of the things that you went over and I went over was the stalker and the time frame for whether or not this person was a jokester and whether or not she knew they were joking, and, you know, the car accident.
The Eagle Nation, yeah. The Eagle Nation owns you, Brianna Wu. Jay Striker won. Okay? You will never beat Jay Striker in a drag race. Wu. Okay? And it was obviously a joke. It was very fucking obviously a joke.
And all that kind of crap. We kind of went over the timeline for that. But if you kind of combine, you know, I've been in stressful situations. If you combine 3 or 4 stressful events into a single event, and there's still very serious fucked up things going on, that to me isn't the same as fabricating reality. It's more like taking 3 or 4 things and combining them into a single thing for rhetorical effect.
But it does seem like, and again, this is old information, but she's never recanted this story of hers about the Gamergate people. And I'm not gonna get too hung up on this because I know that this wasn't a planned topic.
Okay, no, that can be. This is retarded. If the situation is, let's say this is the reality, right? Let's say it's like, what one person posts a picture of a gun at some point, or a picture of them posing with a gun. Another person posts my address at some point. Another person, disconnect people. Another person posts a death threat at some point. And another person shows up at my house. Right? Let's say all those things happen. If I combine those into one person, that becomes a totally different story to 4 different people at 4 different times doing those 4 different actions. That becomes a whole different story. That changes from, like, oh, I got a lot of attention online, a bunch of individual actors were sort of fucking with me, to there was someone actually trying to kill me. There was someone trying to kill me. Those are 2 very different stories. So no, that is not, that absolutely can be a fabrication, Connor. This is fucking retarded.
To talk about too much, but Brianna made she claimed that the Gamergate people are terrorists, and that they drove her from her home, but the drove her from her home part doesn't seem to be true. And she did use bots, or she used sock puppet accounts to troll the Gamergate people for a month prior, and she admits this even. And it just seems like, and there's a Steam Greenlight thing, and she's used her position to seemingly like hurt other people too, like Total Biscuit, like hurt his reputation by talking bad about him.
True.
Brad Wardell,
spitting, tax spitting.
It seemed like that these people supported harassment against her when they didn't. It seems like,
yeah.
And then her and Wardell did later build a bridge together and kind of forgave each other, I believe. But it just seems like,
yeah. See, that's what I would be. Yeah. See, that's what I would be more interested in. So, you know, we all do cringe in front. You know, we all do cringe in the eyes of God. So if there was like, so for instance, like let's say that we did like an inventory, like we just had an Excel spreadsheet, and there were all the people that Brianna Wu didn't owe an apology to because they were fucking assholes and they were rude and they were shitty, and we crossed those people off. And then we came up with 6 to a dozen people that legitimately either got caught in the crossfire intentionally or unintentionally that had been substantively harmed by her behavior during that time period. And then we wanted to have like a reconciliation where we got those people in together in a room with Brianna, and they have.
Well, too bad, because fucking Total Biscuit's dead, so he'll never be in that room. And Brianna Wu kept going while he was fucking cold, dude. So there is no reconciliation there, sadly, Connor. There is no fucking reconciliation. Because this nasty cunt you work with, or worked with, literally kept fucking going.
hashed out their individual perspectives, they figured it out, and they figured out a way to atone for each other. That would be something that they would do, and I would fully support. And as a matter of fact, as an adult, I think that would probably be the best thing for everybody involved. But again, that's kind of not my bag. Whereas if she's like, hey, Connor, I'm a progressive. I'm plugged into the progressive world. I have political friends. I have news friends. I have this. I have that. Do you want to debate politics with me on a weekly basis from a progressive and a conservative centrist lens? My answer is going to be yes. So we're all going to have to answer for our sins at the end of the day.
Okay. I mean, I think that it's not like the end of the world. I think that her saying these things that weren't true had like a pretty big impact on. Well, they had a big impact on the Gamergate people, and arguably on the way the society saw Gamergate and how that all unfolded. And maybe things would have been very different if she hadn't. It wasn't just her saying that too. I could use Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn did as well. But it wouldn't have blown up in this massive clusterfuck, and which harmed a lot of people, including like myself too. Like my own reputation as a supporter of this movement, my own reputation was harmed. I got my panel banned at a convention because of this. Not like the end of the world, but because people basically believed the false information.
Yeah, and for me, it's easy for me to be callous about it because I wasn't as largely involved. My involvement with Gamergate was maybe retweeting like a few fucking shitpost memes. I don't even know if I had a Twitter back then. But maybe sharing a few Gamergate memes and then just talking about how much Anita Sarkeesian sucked in like a closed Facebook group. That's like my total thing. And like watching a few Chris Ray Gun videos, and that's about it. And so for me, this is a controversy that seemed pretty
God,
big
Chris
at the
Ray Gun was so
time.
fucking gay.
And if it carries weight for people still, then obviously I think that, our sins should be counted and should be atoned for. But again, if that's, we're talking Gamergate, what year was that again?
2014 to 2018, though some people would say it's still going on, that the ride never ends.
Yeah,
so we're vindicated.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing. So if I get to, carry the torch of Gamergate, because I get to be like, hey, Brianna, Disney Star Wars is fucking giga cringe, and every time they say they're going to piss off white males, they're basically shooting themselves in the foot. And if Brianna Wu is like, yeah, it is pretty cringe, and it does seem like they're shooting themselves in the foot, then for me, that's a fucking victory. That's just like validating everything that the Gamergaters were saying, which is basically like,
oh, I get to carry the torch of Gamergate by image rehabbing Brianna Wu to a new audience without ever forcing her to account for the bad things she's done to people. Wow, it's kind of like I'm kind of like on your guys' side, really, when you think about it. What a disgusting fucking reptile this guy's being. I usually don't hate Connor that much, but this is fucking reptilian behavior. I'm kind of like on your guys' side when you think about it, because I'm kind of like getting Brianna Wu to be based in a way. No, dude. You're just running image rehab. You're a fucking shill. Dude. Fuck this. What a fucking loser.
You're focusing on cringe political like righteousness when you should be focusing on like story and quality. And we also have all these problems with all these industry simps covering for bad product because they have the right politics. So for me, Gamergate would be validated in a lot of ways, just through Brianna coming onto a weekly panel in order to say, yeah, that is kind of cringe.
Yeah, I just my personal view. I said this in the Cole and Esmeralda interview as well. Is that I just think that Brianna should just come clean about everything that happened. Just
true.
Like, okay,
true.
It did happen to me. Here's the receipts on that. Here's the things that I kind of made up on it. I'm sorry. I thought it would help my political career, or I didn't like these people, so I want to say fuck you. And I maybe took things too far in some ways. And here's how I took things too far, and try and build a bridge. And she's done a little bit of that with Hatman, Alex Baldwin, sorry, and Short Hatataku and PSA Sitch, and even myself. We talked a little bit. Not on air.
Yeah, and like I would be chill with that.
I think she just needs to admit the wrongdoing in order so that we can like all move past it and like focus on building a better world.
Well, and I think she would probably be able to break bread on that part of it. But then
I doubt it. No, she's not going to admit that.
And why and when. That might be something that y'all would quibble about. And again, like I wouldn't know enough about what was true and false in order to be like, no, Brianna, like really, you owe these people, like like I wouldn't know enough about that in order to do that.
Okay, so oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's pretty much it. I wouldn't feel comfortable going to Brianna and being like, hey, I talked to this guy. He's saying based off of your behavior at this time frame, from 2014 to 2018, you owe XYZ ABC person an apology. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay. All right, so you were with Progressive Victory, so is Wick, so is Stardust, though she's not paid, she says. And you all
to my knowledge, she's not paid, and she just came out to canvas. And I don't think we would prevent anybody from canvassing unless it was literally a legal issue. Like unless there was like some state law that said that you can't canvas as like a felon. I don't think we would prevent anybody from canvassing because you're basically a volunteer. You're running around town, knocking doors, missing meals, missing time with family in order to help a political cause. So I don't think they would turn down anybody.
The reason I bring this up is because you guys interviewed me. I think that actually is probably pretty good evidence that specific content, that Brianna Wu wasn't like directing people not to talk with me or talk to certain people, at least in this regard. But did you ever hear or engage in discussions in these meetings or at all about food shops? In these creator meetings, did her name come up at all in any of this, or any other creator who people were like, hey, let's not talk to this person, let's not work with this person?
Not really. There's no it's way more productivity focused than it is negativity focused. So the conversations, as far as I can tell, are about this is what's going on. You know, what do we think about it? How do we make the best content? How do we have the best rhetoric? How do we recruit people for XYZ ABC? And what I mean by recruit is, I mean, like, how do you get people to see the political perspective that you're trying to show them in the most effective way possible? So it's infinitely more, the conversations that I've been a part of have been about production and making sure that things are getting created that kind of push the ball forward for the organization, rather than fuck this person, let's blackball them, let's get rid of them, et cetera, et cetera. I can't think of a single negative conversation that I've had that was organizational. And if anything, the only thing that happened while we were in Cincinnati, we just talked shit about some people who were talking shit about PV. Because we were like, if they were here, they would see what's going on and they would see how fucking cool it is, and they might even want to get down with it. But because they're such fucking assholes, we don't want to work with these people because they're fucking assholes.
Hey, they would think this is really cool if only they could see it. Like, maybe people just don't fucking like having a bunch of financial incentives coming from established political organizations coming into their generally pretty open and authentic, honest, small streamer political space. Maybe some people just don't like that as an inherent thing. Maybe that's just the case. Maybe they don't care about how much fun everyone had at the canvassing, how much a great time everyone's having. All the DGGers getting to go to their first ever party. Fucking, like, no one gives a fuck, dude. It's not about the fucking canvassing. No one cares about the canvassing. Do your fucking canvassing. Do your fucking canvassing. No one's trying to stop you, bro. No one's trying to stop you do your canvassing. Go show a bunch of autistic college students how to have a good time. Give them their first drink. Do all the whole fun the whole fun little thing that you do at your weekends with the DGGers. Do whatever you want, dude. Okay, I'll be sitting here waiting for the Twitlongers to come out of the canvassing house. I will be sitting here spawn camping lows. But other than that, do whatever you want. No one cares. Have fun. Enjoy it. I'm sure you had a great time. But people have a principal issue with the lack of disclosure that took place at the start, and fundamentally with the introduction of money into the space. Well, introduction of established political money, I should say, which is always money and always financial incentives. Jesus.
But it wasn't like a blackball thing. It was this person's a fucking dick.
And in the discussion you had with Brianna Wu, I believe it was episode 01, because you started with episode 00, correct?
Yeah, we're still let's just say we're still in the piloting and organizational phase. We're still figuring out the kinks and timelines and all that stuff.
Okay, so in episode 1, you talk about the food shops controversy. Brianna says in the discussion that she wanted to talk about it. Did she, I guess, mention it beforehand, like, oh, hey, I want to cover this, or what all happened with that? How did that come to be a topic on the show?
Yeah, I don't think she's interested in it from a personality perspective. Again, like, I don't think like food shops individually, it's like, let's kill food shops. Like, I don't
you did title the video though.
What did I say? Let's kill food shops?
No, I'm not. Let me pull it up real quick. It's in a separate document.
Yeah, we didn't say let's kill food shops, but no, if, like, we titled it like food shops drama or something, then yeah, that sounds right.
Title is taking a stronger position on food shops than Chud Logic for the short.
Jesus. Okay, well that's my editor, so blame my editor for that shit. No, but I think I'm probably expressing frustration that Chud wasn't taking his first stance, and that what is it? Lolicon is kind
falls
of
apart immediately.
And I was alarmed by the fact that Chud was like, listen, I'm not going to morally judge you if this is your thing. You do you. I'm just telling you that I wouldn't do this, blah, blah, blah. It felt like he really, my estimation, he denies this. But my estimation was that he was concerned that someone in his audience feel the same way that you do. And if he took a strong moral stance on it, then people might not be as interested in participating in his community. That's what it felt like. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that was my perspective on it.
Yeah, I don't. Okay.
No, sorry, continue.
I don't think that the title is like inaccurate. I think that is your position that you outlined in the video. But it does seem like it's an attack on her specifically, not just a generalized critique of Lolly in the space.
Well, to be fair, I did not expect the largest left-wing creator besides Hassan Piker to come out in support of Lolly through leaking his porn folder. So I didn't expect that development. Yeah, like we're gonna look at that thing in retrospect, Yeah, but this kind of speaks to me having a problem though. Like I do have a problem with this. I don't like this. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's normal. I understand that we're supposed to be liberal and tolerant and libertarian of other people's kinks and shit, but I think we need all the line somewhere. And I think the line, I think Lolicon specifically when it comes to budding pubescent children and children, like prepubescent children, I think that is a perfectly reasonable line to draw. And if you say, but this is America, and Mr. Jefferson said that I could jerk off to fucking prepubescent children, I think you got a fucking problem, And you basically need to find something else to do.
All right, I don't know if it could be on my end. I'm not sure. But I think we're having a little bit of audio issues. It's cutting in and out a little bit recently. When you talk, I don't know if it's doing that for you when I'm talking to or no, but
it's good on my end.
Okay.
Yeah, all I was saying, if you can hear me now, is just Lolly is a lot more normal in this space than I want it to be. I want it to remain not normal.
Oh,
man.
man.
Do you think that you're going to be successful in changing people's views on this?
It's just insane to be saying that when you're like taking this hugely soft stance on on Vosh, being like, "Well, you know, I think he'll pay a social price." Like, come on, you should be like, "Hey, PV, why the fuck are you hiring a pedophile?" That should be your attitude. That should be your fucking attitude.
Yeah, we'll see.
No,
Pray
I mean
for him.
because the creators who do engage in the lolly, Vosh or who hold the opinion, like Vosh, or like myself, or like Destiny, or Stardust, or the other people who are like, or Short Fat Otaku, who are like, it's not really that big of a deal. Like we're probably not going to be like convinced, but like so we can talk about it and debate it like we are doing. Not really debating it, but we can talk about it now, like we are now, and maybe in that future conversation. But like if we don't change our minds, like you're gonna have to keep working with us or like choose not to, I guess, right?
Yeah, relatively speaking. But hey, for me, there's a difference between being like, oh, it's a free speech thing for me. I don't really give a shit if people do it, blah blah blah. Versus you're like, no, it's a good thing. Like you should do it actively. Like actually, you should just beat off to whatever you want to. And I don't have a problem with people beating off to prepubescent children. If you made that like a cornerstone of your platform, then yeah, I might start associating with you less. That is a thing. And for me, the only reason why I'm not going on like Destiny right now in order to fucking do it is because like to fight him on it is because we got bigger fish to fry. Like I don't want to spend my
It's an election
forcing
year.
him
Who cares about pedophilia? It's an election year.
to de facto defend Vosh on a topic that, frankly, if he starts defending it, I'm just gonna get pissed off. Like I'm gonna be like, you're fucking retarded. This is a bad take. I hate it.
So are you and Brianna still going to continue doing your podcast together or your show, Counterfire?
Very likely. So she was very busy. I don't know if you caught this part of it. She's actually no longer working with Progressive Victory.
Yes.
So yeah.
I was going to ask you about that next, actually.
Yeah, so she's no longer working with Progressive Victory, so she kind of started going on her own thing and figuring out her own project.
There's a big orange fish to fry.
And for me, yeah, she's still a progressive. I still think that she is intelligent. I think that she has a lot of things to offer in the way of rhetoric.
We do all hands on deck.
And so,
Pokemon go to the
yeah,
polls.
We are going to do it. It is a question of finding the time to do it.
Are you able to talk about why Brianna left the organization?
Yeah, so obviously, like everything that you get from people is going to be like very PR, HR, whatever, right? But from my perspective, listening to Brianna talk about it, my perspective, listening to Sam talk about it, Brianna was very passionate about certain projects being undertaken a certain way and was kind of assertive with peers who were higher ups and with subordinates who were working as employees for Progressive Victory. And she might have been a little abrasive with those people and was trying to hold things to a schedule. And that stepped on some people's toes. And as a result, they had some creative differences and they moved in different directions. And so obviously that might be like HR speak or whatever, but I did get kind of HR speak from PD and I did get, not HR speak from Brianna, but I was told that she was assertive and some people didn't like how assertive she was.
Oh.
All right, so are you going to...
So yeah, it is it's because she's a neurotic control freak. Okay.
My perspective, listening to Sam talk about it, Brianna was very passionate about certain projects being undertaken a certain way and was kind of assertive with peers who were higher ups and with subordinates who were working as employees for Progressive Victory. And she might have been a little abrasive with those people and was trying to hold things to a schedule. And that stepped on some people's toes. And as a result, they had some creative differences and they moved in different directions. And so
this is the same thing that happened at Giant Space Cat, basically. It's probably, I'm imagining, which is that one of the employees came out and said that Brianna did no work ever and was just a rude as fuck demanding boss. So that sounds like it lines up with the previous reports from how Brianna is to work with.
Obviously, that might be like HR speak or whatever, but I did get kind of HR speak from PD, and I did get, not HR speak from Brianna, but I was told that she was assertive, and some people didn't like how assertive she was.
Yeah.
All right, so are you going to bring up in the meetings? We can probably wrap things up relatively soon if that's okay with you. But
sure.
In the meetings, are you going to be bringing up the disclosure conversation so that other people who
we already have
people? Okay.
Yeah, we already have the as far as I can tell, most people are of the opinion that like disclosure is just way easier, so just do it. That was the conversation that we had. But also the PV higher up, so to speak, or whatever, they basically said we're not going to compel you one way or the other. I don't even, I think they basically said that they're not even legally capable of compelling you one way or the other. So for me, there will be streamers who will just come out and say like, oh yeah, I'm a part of PV and I'm helping them do this canvassing event, this, that, the other, or I'm a part of PV. We're going to be talking about this thing, as a YouTuber. For me, it's about a dozen people, and so they're all
paid,
as far as
or who are part of the meeting.
They're a part of the meeting, and whether or not they're paid and whether or not and to what degree they're paid, I don't specifically know. My suspicion would be a healthy chunk of them are being paid something.
And I'm not sure if they're aware of this. I would have them strongly look at the FTC regulations on this because some people, Wick's initial approach was to put it in the description, but you have to click show more. If it's in show more in the description, it's still in violation of FTC regulations. Though in that stream
Ooh.
he did say 3 times, I believe, possibly 4, that during the stream, which is what he's supposed to do, that he is sponsored by Progressive Victory, which is what everyone who is involved with this is going to have to do in every stream and every video, periodically. Does it specify how often those periods are?
Yeah, I was about to say it would, for me, that it would boil down to like legalism versus intent and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying
for
bad
me, it's
intent.
like-
I'm not saying
Oh
it's
no,
bad intent at
I'm
all,
just
yeah.
what I'm curious for is like the people who are very passionate about this. There's one person who I genuinely believe when he says that he's passionate about this disclosure subject, and that's Beckett. I think Beckett is genuinely concerned that
The one
money,
person, only
political
one
money moving
person is
into the
genuine.
political streamer space.
Everyone else is lying. They just don't like me. They just hate Wick. Shut it down. Don't listen to anyone else. All bad faith. Bro, it's so ill. I literally cannot stand these fucking streamers, dude.
Can genuinely change the quality and honesty of the content there, and as a result, he doesn't like it. He thinks it needs to be fully disclosed, et cetera, et cetera.
That's everyone's perspective on this, I think, or most of the people criticizing. Though there are other critiques too, and we can get to those in a second if you want. But
well, it's up to you if you want to or don't want to. I would say the more vicious criticisms that I've heard are effectively like, I don't think that creator is worth the money that you're paying him. Like that's really what it is.
Yes.
It's like,
Well,
I think this is a
people say. I mean, I've definitely said that to Wick. I've said that Wick has got to not be worth the money. Whatever amount Wick's being paid is too much, and comments like that. That is just to insult Wick, from my perspective. I don't really care how PV spend their money. That is just to insult Wick, really. But I know Sunday, feels like he's got more substantive critiques on that basis. If you want to dismiss those as just bitterness, I guess you can. But the idea he doesn't believe it, I think that's true.
This is a mismanagement of funds because I don't think this creator is worth it, and I think they're kind of a piece of shit and they're bad for your brand. So fuck him and fuck your organization. That's the more like vociferous criticism.
That's what people are saying now, like Kuihman and President Sunday, and they're kind of roasting.
Well, yeah, because Tak might be about to say it. Yeah, I'm saying that to be mean, but I still have a fundamental critique. I don't think being mean to be entertaining precludes you from having a substantive critique as well. I don't buy into this idea that you have to be 100% serious all the time. Otherwise, you can't have any actual real opinions. And you have to be nice to people. Otherwise, they shouldn't take your criticism. Like, no, fuck off. It's the internet. It's meant to be a bit fun sometimes, at least. Okay, that's half of the issue. I've got a problem with PV coming in the first place, is because it does sort of feel like it limits and creates incentives to not have as much of the crazy meanness, as much of the fighting, as much as the interaction with people who may be bad for brands in more traditional ways, right? That's half my fucking problems. Of course, that's the one way I fucking come at it. Listen, I've got a very much what do I sit in that perspective on it, I think. I don't know. It doesn't seem fucking that crazy to me. And I don't feel like it should undermine your actual critiques if someone's engaging, honestly. I think most people are capable of passing through what's someone being mean to insult you and what's a genuine point being made. I don't think the broader population is so autistic that they can't do that. I think generally it's a deliberate tactic to try and avoid answering criticism and play an optics game. I think that's generally the case, and that's the way I'll call it when someone's doing it.
You Progressive Victory people a little bit, because they do perceive it as being, these people, some of them, probably wouldn't be able to do this full time if they weren't receiving this money, and they're not even making like good content, and they weren't originally disclosing it, which I think is a huge deal. Actually, I don't know if you consider my critique to be valid, to be genuine, but I think the disclosure stuff was a huge deal, and I even told people at the time. I told Wick beforehand and Stardust.
Oh, is he about to? Oh, sorry, yeah, I completely forgot. Dude, it's been like fucking 4 weeks since I spoke about it, so I forgot my own talking points. Yes, of course. The reason I was roasting Wick on it is because of the fucking market failure. Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you, Tak, for reminding me of my own fucking points about this. Holy shit. Obviously, if there's a streamer that should not be spending as much time as they are streaming, according to the amount of money that they're making, they wouldn't usually be able to support that amount of time streaming. And then they start getting an influx of cash, they start taking up more space, and viewers that may be going to other streams are going to their stream instead, simply because of habit or because of a dominance that's been created over that time spot. Then that creates worse content, because someone like Wick is producing bad content and being subsidized for it. So it'd be much better to have someone in the same time slot doing a similar thing, but literally anyone else, because Wick's fucking terrible at it. That was why we were roasting Wick. Well, that's why I was roasting Wick. There we go. We're back on track. We're remembering it all. I got to get back into the fucking PV headspace. We were on Tom 10 for like a full fucking week there. Jesus.
Disclose when it was relevant, and they didn't take my advice, and now we ended up here. But now they
lucky for me, lucky for me, the horse porn fucking lolicon discourse is taken off. No, so no, and I don't think I've ever objected to transparency. And if anything, I felt like it would make it better because it's like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. I'm passionate about it. I care about it. I believe in it. That is more valuable than fucking tippy-toeing around this shit.
So I do want to ask you because like there's this, you could be really uncharitable. I don't think anyone's like drawn this specific connection yet. But if someone wants to be like super conspiracy minded with it, they could be like, okay, look, there's this group of streamers coming in. Some of them are already here. Some of them aren't. They're getting paid quite a bit of money, not like life-changing money necessarily. I mean, yeah, kind of, right? Because it enables them to do something that the vast majority of people can't do, which is to be like a full-time political live streamer. And they're initially not disclosing this. Then some people who are being propped up, arguably, by this group, you could say, are then disassociating themselves from different people and encouraging others to do so when you're being paid by this group. And I don't think you disclosed that at the time, right? That you were. And of course,
wait, hold on. So to be clear, the objection, like... the objection is that Brianna Wu and I thought that it might be a bad move to continually platform food shops if she was advocating for like lolli to be like a medicinal lolli for POCD people.
No, I'm just saying.
Well, I don't think raids are quite the same because that's introducing viewers, and then you still have to be entertaining to be able to get the money out of them. And to be able to finance your streaming, right? The issue with PV is that it's a pre-established organization coming in and directly giving money that allows the subsidization of the content, right? You can get all the raids in the world, but if you're sitting there fucking half asleep, the most boring streamer ever, they're all gonna be gone in an instant, and they're not gonna give you any fucking money.
Like super conspiratorial, you can see like this organization exerts a lot of influence on the space, and arguably they're propping up people who wouldn't naturally be able to make the content that they're trying to make now, and at least not at the same level that they're making it now. And these people are now telling other people who should be allowed to be a streamer.
Yeah, obviously, like raids are, raiding, hosting is a nepotistic tool. Obviously, like my pre-existing relationship with Chud is obviously going to mean that I get benefits out of that. Obviously, and in a way that is nepotistic, but it's not quite the same as having a pre-established political organization with a specific political motivation and a bunch of fucking money coming and start financing streamers. That's a different dynamic, I think. It still has, obviously there's still an incentive there, but also like raids are inherently disclosed by when the raid happens, everyone can see it. It's totally disclosed. Obviously, you'll say thanks for the raid. Everyone knows it's going on. So even then, it's like it's not really comparable, I don't think, because it is by its very nature disclosed.
Basically, that's not exactly your view, but like that's how someone could perceive it, and they're trying to say like, this person should be condemned from the space, and I'm working.
Yeah, we're almost done with Connor. Okay, we're close.
But
yeah, I think the solve there is just telling people that you work for the organization. The simple solve. And the other thing too is like we don't agree on a lot of shit. Like I'm Republican, registered as a Republican in the state of Florida. I want, ideally, I would want like Jordan Peterson levels of social conservatism, because I actually view that as like really milquetoast. I don't view that as like incredibly socially conservative. But I would want, Jordan Peterson levels of social conservatism to be normal and accepted. I would want our, never mind. I don't want to rant about my Republican values, but the truth is that nobody really sees.
I think all the good stuff's done. So I'm just going to FK 2 seconds.
There's a in general desire, at least for me, for the general election, to not have Trump, and so that's an important goal that we should work together in order to get done. That's pretty much it. So we don't agree on everything.
All right. Well, hey, I didn't really have any other questions I wanted to ask necessarily. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, man. To be honest, I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. You, being okay with me kind of being chill tonight. I'm definitely overwhelmed with the amount of projects we have. Like, trying to work with PV and make a bolter and raise a family and, do Warhammer content and, do my normal job and all this kind of shit. It's a lot. So I appreciate your patience with me while I'm trying to build a 3D printable frame for a shotgun that will hopefully make a real world bolter that will be fun to play with.
Everyone is capable of awful things, including your father, your mother, your spouse, boyfriend or girlfriend, your children. Who thinks otherwise is lost and should just stop breathing.
I know all of these people. I'd be willing to do it as a moderator, or even just like host it as a discussion.
Yeah, I need to get with Brianna because basically we need to get on the horse and get cooking as far as our own stuff goes, right? Like we need to commit to a weekly show. We need to do a weekly show. We need to, you know, get on the horse, so to speak, and stay on there for a bit. But in general, I don't want to seem opportunistic and strike while the iron's hot with the Vosh thing. I borderline want to let it cool down for a week or two. That way it doesn't seem like, oh, we're taking this opportunity in the discourse to take a big shit on people we don't like. It's more like, hey, there's a subculture of Twitch and YouTube political scene that believes that this behavior is okay, and we don't.
Okay,